Welcome, everybody, to the Resilient Minds podcast. I'm excited and grateful to welcome Ghaya Al Ahbabi to our amazing show this evening or this morning, depending where you are in the planet. Uh, Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time. It's great. It's amazing to have your presence here and your devotion to what you're here to accomplish in this world. So thank you again.
Thank you. Actually, I'm really pleasure to be in this Resilient Mind podcast, and I'm really looking forward for it.
I really just want to, before we get into the depth of everything, if you don't mind sharing just kind of a little bit about your um, responsibility or the choices that you've made up until now regarding UNICEF, regarding COP28, and kind of your role and what you've chosen to step into, just for anybody's awareness.
Of course. I'm Ghaya Al Ahbabi. I'm the youngest UNICEF Youth Advocate and Ambassador for COP28, as well as the youngest Sustainability Ambassador for Y4S at Masdar, and leader and founder of the Green Beds Community Team. A little bit about my background. Um, started my I started my passion when I was only 6 years old towards sustainability in every aspect of life. And I started just doing the simple things, having the simple responsibilities as I was um I had more footprint and cleaning campaigns and all these small actions like we could do like at only 6 years old. And then I started like caring deeply about the environment. I started looking forward more out. I started learning about, and one of the most true people that have been like an inspiration to me, even though I've never seen them. And it's actually His Highness, late Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, the former founder of the United Arab Emirates. I know you might be shocked. Our country is only 50 years old, and look at where it is right now. And it's really, really impressing. It's really how his legacy is still going through generation to generation, and his impact is not only within us as the UAE citizens, UAE in general. No, it's actually worldwide. His impact is worldwide. I've seen people from Africa, from um you can name any country, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I remember Sheikh Zayed. He had that, and he did." And it's just that his, how can I say it? His all his like pioneering you know all his work that he did towards the environment, all that um the huge role that he did towards the environment. He was the first environmental man, actually. He did believe that he wanted to grow a seed in the middle of the desert, where every scientist in the world told him that he can't achieve that goal. It's actually pretty inspiring, seeing that our leader had that passion, had that view, had that, all this view that he wanted to do a change. He had a vision, a clear vision, and that's why he's my inspiration. I'm looking forward to have that inspiration as well. And about like being chosen as a UNICEF advocate, I was first chosen by EED to be if to be actually the youngest ambassador among 50 ambassadors. And then after I created my Green Beds community team, and after we started like our own cleaning campaigns, our own initiatives. Later on, I became the youngest UNICEF Youth Ambassador for COP28, and it's by UNICEF and the UAE SAMC, Supreme Council of Motherhood and Childhood. And yeah, and I actually like a huge appreciation to our UAE government. I've seen youth from all around the world, and they're like having, trouble being taken seriously, especially people with passion. You see people with, a big amount of passion, and they have goals. They have a bright future ahead of them, but it's that they're not taken seriously, and that's a challenge that they're facing. But when I actually see, I was like, okay, I was at only 12, I was chosen to be the youngest ambassador, and for a huge conference of the parties, to be like among leaders and to actually make my voice heard an amazing thing, you know. Not everyone gets that opportunity. Not everyone can represent their countries in that way. And yeah, but here in the UAE, we're taken really seriously. We have a lot of opportunity, and that's what makes me, just be always commitment to what I'm doing and to make a change in the world.
It's really special to hear this because I've spent a lot of time in the UAE and going back and forth and living there and things like this. And one of the things that I've definitely recognized is how much of the voice of the youth is really taken seriously. And it's really inspiring because I always get to spend time with the youth and youth leaders like yourself that are really inspired and are implementing projects and experiences that are cultivating a lot of these ancient wisdoms that, Sheikh Zayed went out to discover. And one of the things that I love that the fact that you bring him up, because he's also such a important figure, I think, that really exemplifies a teaching and a vision. Without a vision, people perish, and a lot of great books have said this. Now, the beauty of him is that he spent the time with the Bedouin tribes, to really learn the ways of the indigenous wisdom, to discover these fundamental sustainable efforts of bringing together agriculture, water, energy to take care of one another. And he was able to then, as a result, implement this. So it's amazing that you're inspired by that, because that's also something that supremely really inspires me, and it's something that is really takes us back to like very deep roots. So what is it, and speaking of deep roots, on the podcast I always share the importance of us as leaders really discovering through our experiences our purpose. So what was it for you, Kaya, that allowed you to really focus on knowing that this is the way that you choose to operate or choose to take action, you choose to move forward in life and be inspired by that consistently every day? What was it? Was there some sort of key thing that you saw in the world that was not making sense, or you chose to say, hey, I'm going to take responsibility at such a young age too, by the way?
Actually, that's a really amazing question, and I'm really glad that you asked me this question, actually. And really simply, I'm gonna say it's, the purpose of you living here. Okay, I'm out of the world. I'm in the world. What's my purpose being out there? What do I leave behind me when I go like from the world? We're all here. We have a purpose. It's the sense of purpose. This is the sense of compassion. If I put my place in, I'm just giving an example, and then I'm gonna go more deeper into that.
Please,
I put my
please, yes.
place in a in like, for example, people at the Pacific, they only have 5 years left into their place, like fully gone. And we're gonna talking about that, like the Pacific Islands. They only have 5 years left. Like some of them, they only have 5 years left until they're fully ground. And when I was like at a round table with His Excellency, the Secretary General of United Nations, Antonio Guterres, and then there was like this um a girl from the Pacific, and then she was like, "We only have 5 years left." And when I was like, I was completely shocked, honestly, and I was like, if I was her, what would I want to do? Like, I would definitely be in depression and despair and disappointment. That okay, when we're gonna talking about people losing their place, losing their nation, we're talking about nation, we're talking about heritage, we're talking about where they were raised, where they like lived their entire life. It's really hard. And when I talk about sense of compassion, it's always about the morality when we have within us. And actually, back in COVID-19, 2021, actually, I was only 10 years old, and actually 9 years old. I didn't even turn 10. And then I decided that I'm going to travel all across the world to where a country where there is a lack of resources, lack of hospitals, school, people and mothers and children are dying because of lack access to hospitals and medicines, and you can name it. Painfully, the resources are lacking day by day. So that's when I decided that I want to travel all across there and to build like two schools and one hospital for them. And it was amazing, just being with different people, just being to hear their stories, to see how they're living their daily lives with this, like they don't have much resources, but they're happy, you know, and they're still grateful for everything they have in life, and that even though that they might lose their like land sometimes, and they might, which is expected, even though like if we don't take action, but hopefully I believe we still have hope, we still have hope to change the life. And I was like, okay, that's
So,
amazing.
so just to be clear, I just want to make sure that I'm hearing you correctly. So the is this is in the South Pacific in that you went to travel there and
It was
to observe?
it was in a different place. It was in Africa.
Okay, you went to Africa. Amazing. Where in Africa?
Tanzania, Zanzibar.
Okay, cool. And you noticed that there was not enough resources, and you helped build a school, and you integrated a hospital, and you were able to meet with the cultures and the children and the youth, and you noticed that they were extremely grateful for their life.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
So they,
And
some
so,
of them were sick, some of them had,
yeah.
you can name it, but like they slowly were like grateful. At least we have a purpose in life. We want to, we love our life. We're okay with it. And it's like, okay, then we have, everyone has purpose in life. Everyone has compassion. The sense of compassion we have between us. We need to enhance it in like protecting our environment. And it's in in COP28, the opening of COP28 and the Action Summit, His Royal Highness, His Royal Majesty actually, King Charles, he mentioned in his speech that the earth doesn't belong to us, we belong to the earth.
Mm.
We we're the one that we all started these three fossil fuels, we all started like the human activities, we started all that, but we need to be the people who actually solve it. We need to look for solutions for it. We need to figure out what's happening in the world. We need to have an action. It's all about a movement.
Mm. And by integrating the movement, so what inspired you to be part of COP28 and then having these meaningful discussions? What were some of the things that you noticed is a big responsibility of our uh, current generation so that we can really impact and uh, focus on creating opportunities for the next generation? Because I think this is important for us all to recognize that we have the ability to take responsibility and to choose to create these solutions. And
Exactly.
it's amazing that you're doing that, by the way, already at a young age.
And that's true. We have the ability and we need to take an action. But some people, and they're still, even with all that change that happened in the world, even though that we have witnessed some changes in the world, we witnessed like climate change going on. And then they still like, oh, yeah, that's the fate of the world. That's it's natural. But when we take a deeper look at it, we we actually recognize that we can make change. It's, they say one drop in the ocean doesn't make a difference, but a wave can really make it. What's the point of just me and you making an action towards like a goal? We have a goal by 2030 to achieve all the sustainable goals, right? All the SCGs. But what's the point of it if it's only me and you? If it's only group of people, if it's only leaders, if it's only governmental institutions? No, it needs to be it needs to be all of us. It's a responsibility of all. There is no age, there is no ethnicity responsible for that. We are all responsible. By the end, we are going to be the people in this sacrifice, you know what I mean? We will be the people at the picture, at the image, just like that, and then okay, what were we gonna do? Oh yeah, because we didn't choose to solve this problem. We don't want to join this movement. And that's what we're trying to do right now, which is advocacy. We're trying to reach
Mm.
as much as youth, as much as people as possible, and to actually make them get back to their consensus. That's no, but we know what's right and wrong. The science is clear. There is no longer any doubt towards what's going on. We need to take an action towards it.
I love that you bring up consensus. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Please
Yeah,
finish.
actually, sorry for interrupting you, but I actually wanted to mention the point that we can even do that with the small actions we can make every day. I'm not talking about, just going straight to the big steps. No, I'm talking about the small steps, the small routines we can make every day, the what we can do, yeah, our ability, we can just use it in making something useful, you know?
Absolutely. And this discussion of consensus is really very ancient way of operating, by the way. So it's fascinating that you're bringing up consensus because consensus is something that is directed of the people, by the people, for the people. And it's also a very indigenous, again, very ancient indigenous way that the Bedouin tribes and a lot of other tribes around the world actually operate from, is about making sure what's beneficial for everybody versus one person or one central planner or one central government. So this is something that also, again, going back to Sheikh Zayed, it's beautiful because he was able to establish the UAE based off of this type of consensus responsibility. And so now we as the youth can use and role model what he's done, in a really meaningful way across the UAE, across the planet, because it's a great way to activate a responsible future and a regenerative. So, not even sustainable, but regenerative, going to the next step and creating that regenerative capacity so that our voices of the future or the children of the future can be heard even more, and they could build on top of the established goals that have been created. But
Mhm,
it's not just about talking about it, which is what I love that you really bring to life. It's about taking action
mhm.
inside of these type of experiences, businesses, and holding those levels of accountability so that we can make sure that they're actually implementing. Because this, you've heard of greenwashing, I'm certain,
Yeah,
where people talk about how great they're following the sustainable development goals, but
but
it's
they're not.
just a way. Yeah, right. So how have you when and by the way, today's COP, the beginning of COP 29.
Yeah,
So it's fascinating that we're having this conversation on that perfect day. And you were a key, even though you're not there physically, your video, your expression, your message was one of the openings of COP 29 today. So for you, I'm curious, how do
yeah,
you see
yeah.
us holding the future of business, of organizations, of governments accountable to these standards of absolute outstanding levels of excellence? What do you see for the future, and how can we continue to navigate with that level of responsibility? I'm curious. Oh, I lost your voice. Can you hear me? Oh,
Oh
there
yeah.
we go.
Right. Yes, of course, I love that you mentioned Sheikh Zayed on that. And actually, it's not just about sustainability, it's actually his leadership in how he united the UAE and his pioneering work. I mentioned that before. His pioneering work, like in conversation, that actually shaped my worldview in general. And that I've always admired how he saw like the importance of sustainability in every form, in every aspect of life. And that it's not just about that, it's like how he saw the importance of sustainability from water conservation and to planting trees in the desert, actually. And this inspired me taking action. And that's what you mentioned, taking action, it's the purpose. Like what you're talking about what actually means, what actually make a difference is that your action towards that. Okay, yeah, we talk and we say and we do that. We know that, right? And it's super clear, but we need transparency in making action. That's what happened in the COP28, where they said, okay, we're gonna stop talking. Where Dr. Sultan Al Jaber said, we and at this COP, it's not just gonna be just about talking and talking, talking. We're gonna make an action. We want to end COP28 by having the fund for the natural disasters, and then we're gonna actually have an action. What matters is our actions, not our words that we're gonna say. And since like you know, taking action at this age, like for me, at a young age, and knowing that the protecting nature isn't just like an environmental issue. It's like a responsibility we all share. We're all responsible, as I mentioned before. And yeah.
Yes, and I agree with this. I think that these are one of the fundamentals, right? Like nature is our home, nature is our experience. For COP29, uh, do you see anything? I know you're not there again, but do you see any type of action steps from COP28 to COP29 being implemented? Any shifts? Have you been privy or have you recognized some of those shifts happen already? I'm curious.
Mm-hmm. Actually, and what I believe is that when COP28 was in the UAE, there was a huge amount of participation from the youth and children.
Hmm.
And that's what is being shifted because it didn't happen before. It didn't happen in previous COPs. So that's what's being shifted is that in COP29, I believe many youth and many children will actually be able to be in that part, to be part of the negotiations and even part of COP29 in general.
Beautiful.
And I really hope that actually.
Beau-
And transparency too.
Beautiful. So what I'm hearing is that you notice that there's been a big shift in listening to the youth and paying attention to what they have to offer.
Mm-hmm. Sure, sure.
And that's interesting. So by having the COP28 in the UAE, it really created an opportunity to pay attention to the next generation versus uh, just talking about it. So I love that. So it really, what I'm hearing again is it created a um, almost like a momentum change where this is about something greater. This is about paying attention to the youth. This is about doing something for the next generation as well. And you got to be a pioneer of that.
Yeah, definitely. And it's all about that. It's about, you know, how like how it started from one country and it's gonna be passing on to next cups, and that's what I really hope, you know?
Hmm. So now moving forward with kind of your own uh, uh, way of implementing your passion, your purpose, what have been some of the big key changes in your development personally, professionally, and where do you see yourself going in the next, 2, 3, 4 years?
You know, I'll start off by telling you what's going on in life. You know,
Please.
they say that when a person is walking, they always look on what's under them. But they're looking what they can have. Like for example, what I'm gonna do tomorrow, what I'm gonna do today, what will I be doing for the rest of the day, and you can name it. Oh yeah, what I'll be wearing, and you can name it, right? But for me personally, I believe when I'm going forward, I'm looking into the next 5 years, 10 years, all like ahead of me. Why? Because I believe the importance of planning, the importance of having a strategy, like a clear vision on what you want to do. You know, you have a set of goals. Like for me, every year, I every start of a new year, I take a sheet of paper and write one of my main goals I want to achieve this year. What do I want to do? What do I have in mind? And all of that. And actually, I put it in front of me at my desk. So every day I take a look at that goals. I review them. Oh, after I review them every day, like I was like, okay, how will I be able to achieve this goal? So I'm gonna take a sheet of paper. I'm gonna write that again, as if how will I be able to achieve that goal? And eventually, by the end of the year, I'll be able to achieve all of those goals. And for me, um, as if I'm not wrong, your question was what do you think I like what I view like being at 2 to 3 years? And I believe that I'll always focus on the small goals for now and how can I achieve them, you know? And since I have like the Green Bits community team, I want to like make the movement much more bigger, much more to reach not just the UAE or the whole UAE, but for the whole GCC, for the whole Arab countries, and eventually the world.
Beautiful. And how can we, as a community, from the Resilient Minds podcast or the Lighthouse community, really support you? What are the biggest things that you need right now?
One of the biggest things that would just make him it makes like it makes it more enhanced, it's that advocacy.
Mm.
I mentioned that and I'll keep on mentioning that. Not everyone, not everyone get the idea. Not everyone is, and they're not conscious of what's going on. Even though if you try, we need it more to be, not everyone. Okay, if we're gonna talk about the UAE now, the UAE is like, I'm talking like most of people, and obviously like most of them in general, they have like they know what's going on. They know what's at stake. But if we're gonna talk about like more specifically, people are having just a hard time processing everything. They may not know what's at stake. So that's why actually, and I believe since it's like a podcast, many people from around the world would be hearing that, then maybe it's advocacy. Try having an action, try doing an action every day. What you can do, just try and doing that, you know? It's all about the small actions you can make.
I really like how you say actions and the small ones because some people, most people in the world, they think that because they're not taking big enough steps, that they're not making an impact. Where when the true impact, it's like, how are we treating one another? How are we communicating with grace? How are we being kind and supportive and compassionate, as you mentioned a couple times? And those actions start to create a really profound, you mentioned also drop in the water, right? Like those drops start to become the ocean, the more and more that we start to actually move forward and we become then the wave. And so this becomes fascinating because I learned a lot from my teacher, Tony Robbins, who really gave me the gift of recognizing that the reason for living is giving. And the golden rule of life that has been spoken by many great teachers and great prophets that have walked this earth long time before is do to others as we would like to do to ourselves, right?
I love that
Treat
you
others the
mentioned
way.
I love that you mentioned Tony Robbins. He's actually pretty awesome. I always hear his TEDx speeches and all his speeches in general. And one I think it's from a long time ago, but trust me, I love hearing I love hearing a lot of, just speeches and all you can name it. But actually, one time he mentioned that in one like speech about, like resources and all that, and that he mentioned about, he's like, oh yeah, I'm not here to give, you know, to give passion. I'm not here to give passion, but I'm here to, I actually, I heard that from a long time. I don't actually remember it, but I love what he mentioned about, our purpose in life, but we want to give, you know, and it's actually pretty awesome that,
One of the great things that he says about purpose is our purpose is right in front of us. So
mhm.
that is what our purpose is. It's always what's right in front of us in that space and time in that moment. And with resources, he always says it's never a lack of resources, but a lack of resourcefulness that will not make us happen. So these are the things that allow one of the greatest things. So Tony, I love that he inspires you because he's really opened up my willingness and to challenge things that I see that are out of alignment because of his strength. And so it's beautiful because at one point in time, his wife Sage, I was saying about how much I love Tony, and she was like, Eric, what you see in him, you already have in you. It was so cool. And it didn't make sense at the time, but what we both see in anything, whether it's good or bad, right? We already have inside of ourselves. And so it's beautiful to be able to relate with you about Tony because for me, he's been a very big teacher. I spent a lot of time learning and listening to him and being very close to him, uh, whether it's at the events or after the events, but it gives me an understanding of how deep and important, his work has been so that just like Sheikh Zayed, right? Just,
Yeah.
we get to learn from these teachers and they've learned from countless teachers before them, right? And so it's all about learning from each other. And the more that we come together as, the next generation, the more we start to show, not talk, but show that we're actually here taking these actions. And the more that you mentioned about people taking small actions,
Mhm.
these small actions, I think that the more that we integrate as a team, as a community, we start realizing that the community across the planet is really just our big playground, and we can learn
Exactly.
to, yeah. Tell me about this feeling because I love that you resonate with this. Tell me more about this feeling of playground and how we can work together and build it.
You know, actually, some people they might see as like taking the sustainable actions. The small actions would like be a little bit hard, a little bit complicated. But like once they take this action towards it, they'll start to feel like, okay, that's normal. We should do that. And if we started this thing, if we started like, for example, um, using your renewable energy in your house or solar power in your house, then you'll see if you're like, okay, it's not as complicated as we thought it will be. Then you're not just going to be the one benefit. You're not going to just benefit from like this renewable resource that you're using, but no, you're going to influence others around you, like your family, your your neighborhood, or every like the community around you. Then step by step, once you're starting to influence, once you start like taking and inheriting these small actions in your daily life, so it's mostly of a routine, then you'll start to feel like more, if it's okay, it's a part of me.
Mhm.
I'm sustainable, yeah. And what's that? What that means is that you're being part of a movement all around the world to try to achieve that goal.
And we're not trying anymore. We're doing it. I
We're
just
doing
want
it.
to,
Yeah. There is
we're
no
doing it.
there is no time.
Yeah.
There is no time for trying actually. No,
Yeah.
we're starting it. If not today, if not yesterday, today. And if not today,
Yeah.
tomorrow. There is no after tomorrow.
That's right. And you're doing it, right? We're doing it. The communities are doing it. And I love that you bring up energy. I think that, energy is a really important responsibility, whether it's renewable or fossil fuels, but specifically energy efficiency. Because what I've discovered, at least, is if we are inefficient with our time, with our experience of life, if we're stranding energy and we're not liberating it to and especially the energy of the youth, the energy of imagination, the energy of creativity, of transformation, everybody, and this is one of the things you talked about, passion, right? With Tony, so he always says, live with passion. This is the purest form of energy that comes out of every human being. When they live with that space of passion and purpose, everything becomes possible. And so energy becomes way more efficient if we start encouraging our youth, our communities to really come from this deep-seated place of knowing within themselves. And so your expression and how you choose to show up, what does that do, and how does that continue to encourage you to keep going? Because I imagine when you meet people, just like I'm feeling right now, your passion, people are probably more wanting to then also support you. Am I understanding that correctly as well? How does that show up in your reality, in your world?
I'm not sure, but have you heard of the butterfly effect?
I have.
All right. Then you mentioned about, this passion we have within us, and that just within the passion we send energy to the world, right? We have energy. When I said about the butterfly effect, and I mentioned it once, and I did the whole a whole presentation just about the butterfly effect and how it's actually pretty awesome that we have it within us. When I Just like the butterfly, when I talk about something, it's all about how we speak up, how we talk, how we have compassion and passion within us as human beings. We give it out to the world with all energy. It just sends like ripples out to the world, you know? Just if it's, if it cannot just be out to the world, yeah, all across the world, as the butterfly wings, the butterfly effect. One wing sends ripples across the world. So it's actually like it's all within us.
Mm.
You, as Tony Robbins said, actually, um, passion is just right in front of
I love it. You're so wise. It's amazing. How old are you, Khaya?
you. I'm 13.
Wow, it's so amazing to listen to this wisdom coming through you, and you're allowing it to clearly just express itself. It's really amazing to allow yourself to be this vessel, and that you're choosing consciously to express it. It's amazing to observe, and I'm sensing like this space of complete freedom.
I'm sorry, did you see something? Because I
I
think
said,
it's
can you hear me?
a
Can you
little
hear
bit.
me?
No, actually.
Can you hear me now?
No, I can hear, can you hear me? But I
Yes, I
cannot
can.
I cannot hear it like 1 second. Can you try again?
I can hear you amazingly. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I do. Okay. Okay.
Awesome. So I was saying that I can sense this amazing space of freedom in the way that you express yourself.
It's true because once you have you have that, freedom of talking, then you more likely think whatever comes into your mind. And I wanted to mention that because you actually talked about energy and like how we're not whether it's energy and actual hydrogen. But no, like we're talking about energy. We have it within us. We give out energy to the world.
Right. And this is part of expressing ourselves with free capacity. So take us to this kind of expression, where maybe there are these limited perspectives of not feeling free in the Middle East, or not as a woman or as a youth, not being able to use your voice as expression. You clearly are able to do all of these things. And so a lot of people out there, they perceive or project this limitation that these things are not possible. So I would love for you to share what's true and what's real, so that people are more informed of the immense possibility of the way that you've already chosen to show up.
All right. Well, it's actually pretty okay. All right. When we talk about, you know, you mentioned that especially since we're from the Middle East, but I believe it's not there is no limit for us, you know?
Thank
There
you.
is no limit. Yeah, we're, we have that. Yeah, every like our voice matters, and our, just how we each one of us, whether it's women's, children's, we're powerful. We're powerful. We have that power within us. Once we when we like whatever we say, whatever we do, it's that we have power within us. And it's actually pretty like how can I answer to that question actually, since you said that there might be limits from the Middle East or that?
No, I said people perceive. So
Oh,
hear me
all right.
correctly.
Yeah, correct.
People around the world will perceive things based off of their lack of knowledge of the
All
Middle
right.
East, or
Yeah.
they are creating a perspective of limitations, and you are consciously showing up with no limits
Mm-hmm.
as a woman, as a young woman, as a youth leader, you are showing up. So you're showing that there
True.
are not limits. So I would like for you to speak into that, because there is a lot of lack of knowledge or lack of perspective being created, that there are limits. And this is something that I just really want to highlight for you to highlight, because it's important that people understand that there is freedom, that you are free, that you are stepping up, that you have a profound voice, that you choose to lead, and that people are listening. So this is
Mhm.
what I'm really wanting to highlight. So just I want you to share with power your abilities.
All right. Well, actually, yeah, it's really important that maybe people from different places or different like countries around the world, they have a lack knowledge of what the the Arab women or the Emirati women will be.
Thank
And
you.
actually, if you could take a look at our women and our children, it speaks for itself. They're like our like government, our UAE, once it's in a place, oh yeah, look, let's just without even talking, you can just see. You just see and view it, and you're gonna get it right away. When we talk about, once like, just this um freedom of expressing, it's not just about the freedom itself, it's about the passion we give into the world. We have our families, and everyone has values in their life, and one of these values, and which is like a high value we have in the UAE, which is our family. Once you have your family's support, once you have your government support, once you have your country's support, once you have your country's leaders support, then you're free to go. You don't have anything to worry about. You don't have anything to um you don't have anything like limiting your knowledge, limiting your power that you give into the world. There is nothing limiting your, whatever you give into whatever you give out into the world, because whatever you do matters, and and that's the kind of, you know, all of that support we're getting.
Yeah.
And I believe that people are might like, just be, as you said, lack of knowledge. They might not know what's going on. They might not like actually know how Arab women or like Emirati women's are actually.
I love it. Thank you for highlighting this, because it's also extremely safe. And the safety and the security that's created in the space, is one of the most safest places that I've been to many times. And it feels very, very connected. A lot of the women and men express themselves with full sincerity. And it feels like any imagination is possible as long as you're willing to move forward and create it. And so I think that this is something that are is by the way a great um it's a great model of possibility for the world, right? To show that anything we can create, and that we can come together to make it happen. And I love it. I love it. I think that it really inspires change. It inspires opportunity, but the choice is ours in which we want to choose, because if people choose to see the opposite of negativity, that's their decision and that's a reflection of the way that they also operate. Would you
Yeah,
agree?
I definitely agree. Yeah.
So I'm curious, as you continue to navigate into the do you have into the future, do you have a community that you are wanting to impact or influence outside or a specific, you mentioned that you went to Africa. Are you traveling to any new places? Are you planning on traveling to any new places to share more of this wisdom and insight that you bring for the youth leaders around the world?
I don't see why not. I mean, if there is any like impact that I'm gonna leave in the world, then I don't see why not, you know what I mean?
So what I mean, do you have any plans on going anywhere in the near future? I can't hear you.
Yes, actually. And I don't have a specific place actually. And but if anything means that, you know, any place that they might be like, you know, just a good place to like put impact, to actually raise awareness and in general just leave a legacy behind, then I don't see why not. I think if that's big, I don't see why not.
I love it. I love it. And do you so how many brothers and sisters do you have? You mentioned a lot about family.
Yeah.
I imagine that you know your mom and dad are pr quite proud of you. And do you have any brothers and sisters, any siblings?
Yes, I do have siblings. I actually have three sisters and two brothers. Sorry, two sisters and three brothers.
Amazing. So they must be all super proud of the way that you continue to show up.
And actually, my youngest brother, well, thank you actually, but my youngest brother is like recently, just 2 days ago, he won like he won first place in the world jiu-jitsu championship.
Wow.
He's only 6 years old, sir.
Wow. So tell us about your parents because your parents must be quite empowering people. And I know for me, my parents always encouraged me to follow my dreams, which is why I choose to express myself fully. So tell me about your parents, and because those are probably one of the greatest role models that you have
Or
been able to spend time with.
actually, if I'm gonna talk about my parents, I'm gonna talk nonstop. They're
Good.
my biggest support. They're my biggest supporters. Like they're the reason why I got I got like into this space. You know what I mean? Because my dad, he was like he really loved like you know just being around surrounded by nature. He loved being, you know, he had like a whole like you know we have like you know just like farms but they're not actually farms but then like he had like a lot of animals. He loved being around nature. He always took me to there, and he was the one who actually taught me who was Sheikh Zayed. You know, I didn't know who was Sheikh Zayed, but I'll tell you a quick story. I was on my way to school actually, and then on my way, I just realized that there is a tree in the middle of the street. So there was like, you know, a whole space for a tree in the middle of the street. That was actually really shocking for me. And I didn't expect that there is something like that, you know? And then I was like, what's that? And then he said that his the late Sheikh father, the late Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Hayyan, he when they were like, you know, just doing this construction and they wanted to do all the streets and planning and all that, they asked him like, what should we do with this tree? Should we cut it off? He's like, no, you're not gonna cut it off. Why not just mixing humanity and all of this industry with the nature? It's not wrong to
Mm.
keep it, but it is wrong to take it off. So he's like, and then we're not gonna take it anywhere. It's gonna stay where it is. Instead, we're gonna just do the place and whatever it is. And I was like, I was really shocked. I never expected to see something like that. And all like the stories that my dad shared about Sheikh Zayed is truly inspiring. And I always see it as, and it's not just only my parents, it's also my grandparents and my grandparents. And my mother actually, she's actually a huge role model to me. Like I never expect, like she's my biggest supporter. She's always there for me. And then she's like the reason that I want to wake up and I want to do like I want to make her proud. And that's my whole goal.
Well, I just want to share with you that I can imagine that right now, whether they're watching live or they're watching back this recording, that there's absolute pride in the way that you're showing up, because uh, you are a reflection of them and their values and their virtues, and it's amazing to see this passion come through you. I can imagine. I'm not a father yet. I can't wait to be a dad, but when I am a father, I definitely want to continue operating from that place where my parents and your parents and they encourage the best part of us to really shine. And so this is something that I think it's important for us to continue for our next generation so that they also continue to shine. And it's very evident that great grandparents, your grandparents, your parents, you are doing some amazing work in the world, and the way that you choose to show up. So I just really want to acknowledge that, because it's beautiful to observe, and acknowledge your parents for their wisdom to really help you shine. So thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for being you.
Thank you.
So before we go, where is the best way that people can either reach out, um, see ways that they can support you, find out more information about you? Where's the best place that they can find you or connect with you?
Well, actually, like I do have social media.
Okay,
I do have an Instagram account and I do have a LinkedIn profile. And then if anyone like would want to reach out, then I also have like an email address.
cool. So I'll connect the your social media links in the show notes. And also, last question.
Definitely go for it.
If you had 3 days left to live, what would you be doing?
If I only had 3 days to live, what would I be doing? Okay, that's a really nice question. And it's a nice question and a tricky one too. So what I'm gonna do is that first I'm going I don't know how to say this actually, but so the first 2 days I'm gonna spending it with my family because I don't believe being without them. And then the last day, I'm gonna be spending it in the nature, just admiring how God like made this nature for us to live in. It's a place like to peace out and to actually admire an amazing what amazing land we have around us, what amazing nature, what amazing gift we got from God.
Beautiful. Thank you for this wisdom and grace. Keep being so profound and amazing. I really honor you and I honor your wisdom. I look forward to connecting more and being in support in whichever way that I can. Hey everyone, and thank you so much for listening to the Resilient Minds. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please make sure to go comment and like and follow us on iTunes or Spotify, and please make sure that if you really love this, to share this episode, and make sure that you're inviting all your friends to like it as we continue to unfold
what the beauty of our minds does, more importantly, how powerful our heart level of intelligence can be when we combine our heart and our brain together. And more importantly,
make sure you take the time to take a look at what we're doing at Balanced Media Ventures and how we can actually really support you in doubling your impact, your income, and your influence, and how you can bring your life's greatest vision into your purpose and create it from that level of reality. Talk to you soon.